A very good morning to everybody on this May 16th. We have with us Reverend Bonnie Anderson, who is always a pleasure to have. She'll be discussing her sermon this week. Hopefully soon we will have the other half of the Bonnie and Andy sermon duo. But for right now, it's the speaking half, we could say. So JC wanted to go first.
I enjoyed what you said today, what you presented today, Bonnie, very much. And I hope we will spend some time sharing the visualization because it was incredibly, I guess I love visualization and I let all manner of things happen, but the new world I saw was amazing. So I'd love to hear other people's stories. And the takeaway for me was, so given what is, where's the gift? Where will you go? I'm excited.
Well, I'm so glad you're excited. Me too. It's better to be excited than to be frightened and depressed. So
Absolutely.
Oh, and speak of the pianist and singer, we have Reverend Andy hopping in.
Hey, Andy.
So Bonnie, maybe you can speak to that just a little bit of the given everything that is, where do we go from here, I suppose?
Well, it's interesting because a friend of mine is doing a talk today at another church on she did some writing on her birthday of imagining what it would be like on her birthday. Andy, you can't do that. We got to echo. Hold on.
It's okay. I'll go ahead and mute Andy or he muted himself. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'm still hearing an echo. I'm going to shut the door. 1 second.
Sure. It's the joy of live media, people.
Oh, we've learned so much.
Okay, so yeah, she wrote about what her birthday would be like when she turns 100, and how the world would be different. And it's a really interesting exercise to do because you can imagine all sorts of things that are incredible, where the global warming has been solved, that medical advances are really there's been some amazing about it, all kinds of a future that we couldn't even begin to imagine. And I think that we can start to open up to things like that we're coming out of this isolation time, and we get to create how we want it to be. I mean, with obviously with some limitations, but if we really look at it spiritually, the door's wide open for us to create the beauty that we wish to see.
Very cool. And Julianne.
I just wanted to say how wonderful it is to be in that creative zone where reality is suspended. And I've caught myself staying in there a long time and not wanting to come back. But if you're mired in the mundane, the daily, ho-hum, the creative zone is a wonderful place to go, and you'll have to make time for that.
Yeah, I think making time for that is important because it's easy to get caught up in the mundane and get caught in the limitations and read the news and see that everything is going to hell in a handbasket, but we forget that we have the power to create, right, and to imagine and to step into that reality we would like to have.
Well, I wonder if I can piggyback off that for a second and ask Andy, do you, speaking of the creative zone, do you find that affects your practice or your music, or with the mundane or maybe the bad news that's happening? And if it does, how do you transcend that? If it doesn't, how do you resist it?
It's interesting. When can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, when as the old saying go, stuff happens, and some say shit happens, but stuff happens, and
Okay.
so you can't get around that. So you either buy into it, or for me personally, when that happens, I have my own personal mantra, and you're free to use it if you want to, but mine is, gee, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. That's
Yes, it is.
Isn't that interesting? So that's what I use, how to propel me forward when when the mundane pops up and stuff pops up, and I always, and I do truly believe that I am the conductor of my train, and I'm the captain of the ship. There's some things you can delegate, and there's some stuff that you can't. This is one of those things that you can't delegate. So if you're the captain of the ship, then I say, well, if isn't that interesting? How did I create that? And so it boils even over into when I'm doing my music. When I'm creating music, I just you have to be in that, Mike, you know what I'm talking about. You have to be in that space.
Yep.
You have to create an opening for it to happen, either consciously or unconsciously. And then stuff pops up. Music comes from nowhere. It seems to come from nowhere. At times, words and lyrics will come, and I'm scrambling trying to find a piece of paper, because I know if I don't write it down, 20 minutes is gone.
mm-hmm.
So that's how I, move myself forward, in being in the world, but in the sense not of the world,
Yeah.
and just kind of like.
Yeah. Well put. Yeah. So Laleen and then Connie wanted to go. Yeah. So go ahead, Laleen.
I had two thoughts. The first one was a response, Bonnie, to the visualization. Last night, JC and I watched Finding Dory. I don't know if you know the Disney film Finding Dory, where Dory gets lost in the vastness and all kinds of calamities happen, and she never stops looking, for what it is that she's wanting to find. And that's kind of like a little bit like my life. I'm always like looking forward and anticipating and excited. And so when you did the visualization, I found myself being little Finding Dory, standing on the precipice of the vastness of the ocean, away from all of the seaweed and other things. And the vastness just seemed to be filled with amazing possibilities, excitement and anticipation. And then I had the polar opposite experience. At a later point in your sermon, we had just had a get together with a support group that's been meeting weekly for years. And as we were driving up to get together in the physical, we're all vaccinated, doubly, we've all, been together weekly on Zoom. As we drove up and I was parking the car, turned the engine off, and I leaned over to JC and I said, I feel really anxious. I hug people. The only hugs I've had are from some other members of Sunday Services Committee or our women's support group. And this is a mixed group of men and women. And men, I really enjoy hugging them. They give really good hugs. So that brought some balance, back for me of, what is, what could be, what will be. Meaningful. Thank you.
Well, and I love that, Lynn, because on one hand, you got a glimpse of the unlimited possibilities in that space, that field of unlimited possibilities where it's vast and so many things. And then it's like you taking that first step to meet with people. It's like, oh, this is hard. And so it's the juxtaposition of the two.
Right.
Okay, Connie.
Well, I have a few comments, but one, in your talk, one of the things that you said is it's not the same world. And my feeling is it is the same world. What can be different is us, but pretty much everything that's happening in the world is pretty much what was happening in the world 2 years ago. And so I guess I feel the world is pretty much the same, but it's up to me to be open to change. That I'm, that saying, I'm the change the world needs or something like that. And then another response was about how many people, and I think Laleen just touched this, how many people don't feel safe. And one of the things I was reading this week had to do with when we feel fear, what kinds of chemicals are created in our body and our mind. And those chemicals kind of keep us in that fear zone. So that's pretty strong. And we have to kind of work ourselves out of that chemical sense, or whatever you want to call it, that we have when we become fearful. And I've had the same experience of getting together with a group, having the most wonderful time, and getting in my car and saying, oh my God, should I have done that? And so I'm volunteering to be a spiritual midwife. And I'm going to work on that now. I love that idea. And the other idea I love that Andy just said, you have to create an opening. And I think that is such a good way to begin. Just begin trying to find an opening. So I love the talk. And Andy, anytime you want to call me and sing I'm Grateful, I'll hum along.
You got it.
Okay.
Wonderful song, Andy. I had my windows open. I played that song full volume 3 times. My entire neighborhood got taken to church this morning. So
Oh, wow, what a blessing. Wow.
And just so everybody knows, because it's not easy to do this. Andy did all of that in one take. Yeah. So just, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious.
Oh, look who's here.
Yeah. Oh, hello, Carrie. Bonnie or Andy, are you familiar with Jiddu Krishnamurti's book, Freedom from the Known?
No,
Okay,
I like the title though. I like
I'm
that
not,
title.
sounds interesting though.
It's a fascinating perspective on how we order our lives. So the idea is that human beings cannot, this is kind of a maxim that has been put forward, but human beings are not capable of conceptualizing something that they have never experienced or never seen. And this is just something that we've always assumed. And Krishnamurti's book, Freedom from the Known, kind of goes in to challenge that. So if anybody's curious about it, it's well worth reading. So
Maybe you could put her name in the chat,
Mhm.
the book in the chat.
yeah, it's a hymn.
Oh, it
but
is.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. He interesting guy.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, who's next? Laleen.
I just want to respond to Connie. Connie, I think that's a great idea, both of them. And I have a suggestion. Would you be interested in doing congregation meditations occasionally? Because I know sometimes when we're doing live, and the the sermon speaker doesn't do the meditation, it would be really a wonderful time to have our midwife come up, and from reading your letters every week, you have some beautiful journeys, I think, to take us on. And I think it could be really, really helpful. So just a little thought to throw out there.
What do you think, Connie?
Me, I thought she was talking to Bonnie.
No. Talking to you.
Oh,
She's talking to the spiritual midwife.
You're right.
I didn't, I zoned out on that. I was, in fact, I was rehearsing a little thing with Bonnie. I didn't even know you said Bonnie. I don't know what I think about that. You
Okay.
can tell that threw me off guard.
We'll come back to that.
Right.
So Carrie's joined us, and Lurley and Paul have returned. So do either of you have some thoughts? Or can I use either in two or more?
Any of you.
Why not?
Any of you, thank you. There you go.
Or either.
Either, there you go. Hi,
Um,
hi.
I'm trying to catch up to where we left off. I missed about 5 minutes trying to get reconnected. So I
Fair
don't know
enough.
where we're at in the discussion.
I'm in the same boat.
Circle back to me. Circle back.
Yeah, yes. We will circle back. Okay, Glennis, there you go.
As far as creating things go, I'm doing the things that I love and would actually put stuff out into the world. I have this real problem with, I wouldn't call it procrastination. I would call it delaying pleasure, because I figure if I get this done and I'm not looking at it when I'm trying to play music or I'm trying to write or whatever it is I'm trying to do, then it's off my mind and I don't have to worry about it anymore. But when I see jobs and things that are on the mind and they're just working at it, it's hard to break that out of that and go ahead and do it anyway. That's it.
Bonnie or Andy, did you want to respond to that?
Well, it's just, I know what you mean, because we need space in order to create. You need space, and sometimes you need to be alone. And you look at the dirty kitchen or something, and that takes precedence. And I think that's been a challenge for writers and creative people, all ages, throughout years. I've read things about authors saying that, like, she always thought she had to clean the house before she could write, so she never wrote.
Yeah, that's true.
That was
Yeah.
back in the day when the wife was supposed to keep the house clean. It was for her, that was her situation. But sometimes it can be challenging putting that aside. Some people go on away by themselves. For me, I might be just starting to do something like writing, and then my grandkids show up unexpectedly, and that blows that. So yeah, I think it's always a challenge. Connie.
Well, I think going back to Andy's, you have to create an opening.
Mhm.
For me, I had to find situations that allowed me to open. And one is walking and one is my yoga practice. And if I don't make a commitment to one or the other, then I get caught up in my to-do list. And if I'm on my to-do list, there are very few openings, let me tell you. So that's what I do.
That's a great quote. There are very few openings on my to-do list. It isn't that the truth. It just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glennis wanted to chime in.
Well, I just wanted to say then the answer is to step aside. And so for me, walking is a form of meditation. I do it alone, and my mind is doing all kinds of things. I don't know. I'm really trying to keep from tripping on the sidewalk, actually. So it's become like concentrating on your breathing. It's almost like, here's the automatic thing that you're going to do. And meanwhile, your brain is free to do all kinds of other things. And I do that a lot. So I think what Andy is saying, that you got to make the space to do it, is the key. It's like, okay, I see nothing over there that needs to be done. I'm going to do this. And I don't know. I think that's probably a part of the answer.
For me,
Virginia Woolf said a room of one's own, and we can make that room in any way. Meditation, out of doors, walking.
well, and I think that sometimes the room wants to be its own thing. I just finished quite a bit of music, and I was resisting telling telling a story of grief. And then when I finally embraced that that was the only story I had to tell at this moment in my life, then I wouldn't say it flowed effortlessly. That's not the case, but it certainly happened a lot easier. So I know what you're talking about. Carrie wanted to go next, and then we have Julianne.
Yeah, Michael, I totally agree with you. Honestly, I feel like I'm living that exact situation right now. I mean, as far as just being honest with what my story is, and there's a lot for me to come to terms with, but the more that I have embraced it, the easier it's been for me to work through it. I mean, the double-edged sword, of course, easy and also painstaking.
Yeah.
But for me, in order to make space, I have to have habits in my life. I have to have healthy habits. I have to have time put aside for some kind of body movement. And I totally relate to everyone who said, the kitchen, the chores, the dishes, all that, it comes to, but, there are sometimes when I have to put that part of me first. The chores have to wait. One of the ways I've been able to do that is actually Tom installed a Bluetooth speaker in a light bulb in my kitchen. So in the kitchen, while I'm doing dishes or making a meal, I put on the songs that I like to sing the most. And of course, everyone has to listen to me belt them out. So, I mean, I don't get any privacy as far as practicing that on my own, but I still get the joy of the practice. So sometimes, I feel like we have to be able to compromise with maybe how we get to the practice, but just setting up the habit of it, at least for me, it helps keep the creative door open and flowing.
Yeah. So Julianne is next, but Bonnie or Andy, I wanted to give you a chance to respond to anything that you've heard, or not.
No, everything that everyone has said has been pretty much on key. All the words that has been spoken so far has been really illuminating, because basically, in a nutshell, what you're searching for, you're searching with. So as mundane as that might sound, there's a deep truth to that. So, creating the space, allowing yourself, to remember to breathe in the midst of adversity, all of that is tied into what is your truth, really, And so, it's like, okay, today I breathe, today I have fun, I know there's a whole lot of stuff going on, but today I declare fun. And, and the universe never says no. It never says no. It's not going to tell you, say, oh, today I'm having fun. The universe says, no, you ain't. Oh, you just joking. The universe is not going to do that. So whatever one of my old teachers used to say, your latest idea might not be your greatest idea, but it is your latest. So what you gonna do with it? So that's kind of like what Carrie is saying,
Yeah.
And Carrie, I like that you said habits, because for me, if I don't have some structure in my day, I'm all loosey goosey, and it's 6 o'clock in the evening and I haven't meditated yet. So I really try and keep at least a morning routine at the minimum where I get my meditation in, because if I find if I don't do that, the rest of the day is pretty crazy. So habits are important for me too.
Yeah, same here. Julianne.
The only unacceptable place I've ever found that one shouldn't slip into the creative zone is when you're driving. I was composing a speech, and it was important and it was lengthy. I ended up in another state.
Oh.
And I didn't know where I just keep driving. That's me.
I mean, were you at least close to the border, or like did
No, after you drive 10 hours, you think I'd be clued in at some point, but I
Wow.
was way gone.
I've done
Okay.
that locally. I mean, I'm passing Eden Bar where I'm intending to get off, and I'm down at, at Harvard, and I'm going, how in the world did I get down here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Glennis, did I see your hand up?
Well, I was only going to chime in with that. In Minnesota, where everything is white, including the road in the wintertime, and they have very few signs that tell you where you are. You almost have to drive into a little town that you see on the horizon to see what the name is on the water tower, so you know where you're on. So anyway, I have a few times actually driven completely past where I was going, because the roads are all the same, and it's all really very hypnotic with the white and the continuous nothingness. So I get that. That's all I was gonna chime in with.
Well, it would be interesting, since the title of stepping out of your comfort zone, or the concept of stepping out of your comfort zone, Bonnie or Andy, can you tell us a time in your life where you had to do that, other than the one that was referenced in the talk?
I'm sure that there have been many times. I'll give you one example. I when I was younger, I was working for a corporation, and I volunteered. We were going away on a retreat, and I volunteered to give a talk. And I wasn't in that. I mean, I was in an administrative role. That wasn't what I did. And that was definitely outside my comfort zone. And then when I found out my boss was like worried about, she didn't want me to give it, maybe not give it, because she was afraid it would make her look bad in front of her boss, because it was kind of an intimate setting. And so I was scared I had this impulsion or this calling that I wanted to speak my word, but I was terrified. I was just terrified, and didn't sleep that night. And the morning I was sitting there waiting for my turn, I looked out the window. We were at a retreat setting, and there were hundreds of butterflies on this one plant. And I just saw it as a sign, like the butterflies in my stomach. And I gave a great talk, but it was really way outside my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I got one.
Yeah, go ahead. And then if Andy has something, then he can chime in. Oh, go ahead, Lillian.
Well, I got this award when I was younger, and it was a really big one. It was Woman of the Year in Los Angeles. And I was so out of my comfort zone that I absolutely lied. I was supposed to ride in this open convertible car, through the entire Gay Pride parade, with thousands and thousands of people. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be that visible. I'm a doer. I don't want all that, limelight. And so I did this whole, I got to be with my people, this whole rap on, elitism, and I'm not riding in a convertible. It was bullshit. I just was, way too frightened and shy and everything else to do it. And I thought I was out of it. And then I had to give a speech, worst speech I ever gave in my entire life.
Yeah, they say that the number two, these statistics are super old, but the number two fear in the world is death, and the number one fear is public speaking. So,
I remember that. I remember that statistic.
yes.
You know, Mike, I just, you made me, I was thinking back when I was working as a software engineer. We had this huge meeting. You're talking about stepping outside your comfort zone. Had this huge meeting, and I'm team leader, so I got my team, and I had all the paperwork down. I had everything. It's like I knew what I was going to say. I thought I had all the bases covered. So the meeting went on and on and on and on. And finally, somebody called my name and asked me to give a presentation on something I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. But it was supposed to have been in my domain.
Yeah.
And so I had to come up with something to say that made absolutely sense. And that was, I once I got my head screwed on straight and I took a breath, and before I said anything, I remembered to breathe, but and so first I had to calm my heart down, because it was like but that was outside my scope, but I had to remember. Once I went back and remembered, you can do this. You can do this. Then I just took a breath and I just dived right in. I with both feet. Sink or swim. But anyway, that was most interesting. I just wanted to share that. That was really interesting.
So when I was in acting school, the best piece of advice I ever got was that in an audition, there's zero chance that you're going to learn your lines any better in the 5 minutes before you go on stage. But what you can do is you can focus on relaxing and breathing. So
Yep.
I've tried to put that into practice. Laura Lee had something to say.
Well, my entire life, I have been, believe it or not, painfully shy and very, I am not comfortable getting up in front of people, and even this virtual interaction. I have a hard time getting my thoughts around. And then one of my sons, I think it was Andrew, suggested I go into clowning. And it was amazing because I can't get up and speak in front of people, but Cupcake can get up and do almost anything. And it just was a whole different persona. And to this day, it's easier for Cupcake to do almost anything.
Now, of course, there is video evidence of Laura Lee speaking to an entire Japanese grade school in Japanese. So
Wow.
maybe we'll share that at some point.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Bonnie, Andy, did you want to respond to any of that?
No,
Okay.
I just enjoy hearing about people's experiences.
No,
It's,
no, I'm good.
we all have that in common.
Paul wanted to go next.
Yeah, just talking about being out of your comfort zone. I think the first time for me was when I was a kid. I was very interested in magic, and I had opportunities to perform. And my first opportunity to get up on stage and perform magic, I think I was maybe 11, maybe 10. But not only was I trying to do complicated prestidigitations, but my assistant was a girl I had a crush on for years. So I really was trying hard, not only to not screw up my magic trick, but trying to impress her at the same time and audience. That was quite an experience. getting stretched 3 ways and trying to be out of your comfort zone. It was a life lesson, actually. After that, I was never afraid to get on stage again.
Well, you know, Paul, I've heard that it's harder for women to run away from you if you saw them in half. Sorry, couldn't help
I
it.
love that.
Good one.
Okay, on that note, Glennis wanted to go next.
And I almost forgot what I was going to say after that. I used to be petrified of getting up in front of anyone, more than 3 people, and I could hardly speak. The first time I took a speech class, I think I bailed on it. I don't remember actually finishing that course because I just could not get up there. In the meantime, I learned to play bass and turned out wasn't too bad at it. And since I'm up there and most often they need a backup voice, I sing too, now on a microphone with no problem at all. It's turned out that my point is that things have turned out to be a blessing. Now I can get out and speak in front of all kinds of people, plus sing in a microphone and play bass. That's not a problem. But when I had a group of friends who were actually a metal band, their bass player took a spill and hit concrete with his head. He was out for a while. So I had to sit in with them, which means I had to learn a whole bunch of songs quickly. And a lot of them were originals. So I had to go by their recording of it with their bass player doing his thing, which almost any bass player will tell you I might have played that a little differently, you know. So it was so I took the stage with that, and I only had like a week to learn all those songs, and let me tell you, I was often like, whew, you know, it was mind-boggling. First of all, the fact that I more or less pulled it off. Secondly, everybody was having a great time. So that little bit of fear and stepping in there and doing it anyhow, it really, the blessing was more than I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling when you know you pull something off that you were kind of like faking it all the way along, and people are going wild, you know.
It's so true, and it's like, it seems like sometimes under pressure, there's something in your mind that just takes over, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, and your mind is able to say, I've got this, you know. That's a great point. We have a queue going, so we'll have Kim speak, and then we'll come back to Connie. You're muted right now, Kim. There you go. Okay, that's okay. Oh, okay.
I'm a very, very shy person, and I've never performed before in my life until I moved here. And I just remember the first couple of times doing it, just singing out loud and playing guitar, and then inside of me going, oh my God, what am I doing? It was so scary. I just remember the first time I did church at my church, and I started playing the guitar and singing out loud, and it was right. It's not a very big place, and I was mic'd, both my guitar and my voice, and I could just hear it. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, I'm really actually doing this. It was just a weird feeling. And then they wanted me to talk. The next time, can you have more songs and do some talking and praying? Oh my God, I'm like, and I'm going to be doing it again June 5th. So it's like,
Wow.
But I think you learn a lot about yourself when you take those chances. Yes, Bonnie, please.
I just wanted to add that, I can tell when you're talking about it that you felt really alive when you were doing it. And that's one of the benefits of stepping outside the comfort zone, is that you get a feeling of aliveness. It really is, it's scary, but when you do it, it's a real rush, and it's a real, you're fully alive, and it sort of enters you in another zone, to me. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Oh, Connie had something.
I have a question for Andy.
Mhm.
I think I wrote the quote down correctly. What you are searching for, you're searching with. Is that right, Andy?
Yes.
Would you explain that a little bit more?
What that means is that um, whatever you're looking for in life, no matter what it is, whether that is health, financial, it doesn't matter, freedom, whatever you're searching for, it's searching for you. And so, as an old saying is that you can't go beyond. So if you want to expand that, if you want to expand whatever you're searching for, you're searching with, if you want more of that, then you got to make yourself available to it. So it's kind of a big circle, So if I say, I want more joy in my life. So if I'm searching for that, then joy is searching for me, and joy is gonna find me, Why? Because that's my predominant thought, and so that's what I'm putting out to the universe. The universe always says yes, So that's what that means, is that so it's a good reminder for your own self. See, what I'm searching for, what I'm searching with. Yes, it is. So what am I thinking today? That's the song I wrote. I'm always thinking, you're always thinking,
Yeah.
but do you really think about what you think about all day long? Or do you think about what somebody else said, what the TV said, what social media said, what it is that you believe, And 99% of the time, it's going to be different from the outside chatter that comes in. So what you're searching for, you're searching with, and it will always find you, good or bad. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't matter. The universe doesn't care how big your bucket is. If you want a bigger bucket, then you got to get a bigger bucket.
Yeah.
So so that's what that means. Long story short, that's what that means.
Good.
Great. Laleen and then JC.
I just kind of want to add another thought that I've learned that if I don't step out, like writing in that parade or giving that speech, if I don't take those risks, if I don't try new things, then I won't find the things that I'm good at or that I really, really like to do. And part of where I am today at 79 and a half is I really feel like I've found the way my creative juices work, what my tracks are, what it is that I like to build or create or do or mess with or whatever. But I also know what doesn't feed me and what doesn't feel good or satisfy me. And so I just wanted to add, I think it's really important to acknowledge when you're stepping out or you're trying something new, if it's not a goodness of fit, it's not a goodness of fit. And it's not right for you. Try something else. It's too easy to get caught up in some notions that I ought to be able to do X or Y or Z. Well, maybe you're an ABC person, or maybe you're a QRT person. Still a thought.
And when we go through these, Bonnie or Andy, if you have anything to say, just chime right in. So JC.
Well, I'm still back on the visualization, and I was sort of when Connie said that the world isn't changing, we are. And so I've been thinking about that, and I realized that when we did that visualization, Bonnie, that road that I was walking on past that tree, I've been walking on that path for 25 or 30 years. I mean, I remember doing that meditation in this congregation 30 years ago. And so when I turned and saw the trees and squeezed through, And this whole other thing happened. I saw a completely, I first just stopped and said, how can that possibly be? How can this path go here and these things be right here, 2 trees away? And then I realized that then I looked at it and it was kind of like where Thelma and Louise shot their car, you know, it was down there where the river was and all. And when you took me back to that old path, there was nothing there, no energy on that path. So I just wanted you to know that today your visualization has been incredibly effective for one person at least, because that old path ain't where it is anymore.
Well, thank you, Lilene. I mean, thank you. I'm looking at the name under your, JC, the name under your
Yeah.
picture says Lilene.
The other one.
Thank you so much, because that was like a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't planned. I just followed my intuition, and obviously it was working. It was opening a door for you. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, well, then the other thing, Connie, that why I attached it to what you said is everything in the new vista, where the new path will go, is going down and deeper into me. So yes, the path up there, I was doing fine. Everybody was quite pleased with me. But my new visualization is what's under there? What's down deep below that? Will you go there and become that person? So yeah, it was a game-changing sermon time for me. Thank you.
I was gonna say at this morning when Bonnie and I did our daily meditation, one of the words that David G shared was like, ask the question, who am I? You know, in order to get to who am I, sometimes you have to go a little deeper than you have to go a little bit deeper than what you had intended to.
Right.
So you know, as the old saying is that be open from the top. You know, so when you ask the question, who am I? You know, you ask, well, who am I? Be open from the top. You know, so that's very good, Jason. Thank you.
Carrie.
Yeah, you know, the talk of getting out of your comfort zone really happened for me yesterday. I typically, if I'm very emotional, I kind of keep to myself and process, but I had to get out of the house. I was just like crying and hysterics, and it was, my heart was just really heavy. And I went for a walk, and I was stopped by 2 people, 2 total strangers, and both of them stopped just purely out of kindness to make sure that I was okay. And I don't typically, you know, open up to people that I don't really know. I mean, that to me was stepping out of my comfort zone, but they took the time to, you know, stop and say, you know, I can see that you're really upset. Are you safe? Is everything okay? And they even took the time to walk with me. So I took a walk with each one of them separately. They both stopped me at different times. And they were so kind. You know, we exchanged, you know, some interpersonal issues that, you know, we were both going through at the time. But, you know, there was something that pulled me into that situation. There's something that led me out to get out the house, to, you know, I had my headphones on even, and I'm just like snotty and hysterical, and, you know, not thinking that anyone would, you know, stop. I'm just thinking, okay, well, I just need to do this. And for one, I was very touched and moved by, you know, these 2 individuals that they didn't have to take time out of their day for me, but they did. And then the other part again was just being open to people who just wanted to be kind and supportive. And that, you know, that's a rarity outside of, let's say, the congregation, or, you know, groups that we've come to kind of rely on as our like home base or safety net, you know. So, you know, I just wanted to share that it really, I mean, whatever it was, it pulled me out there. The universe that, or you know, like you were saying, Andy, you know, what you're looking for is what's driving you. And I think that's what it was, is I just needed somebody to say, hey, you know, I'm going to take time out of my day to check on you. You know, and as a mom with four, I mean, shoot, I'm checking on everybody else all the time, but to have somebody do that for me was, it was just so heartwarming. And it actually makes me want to get out and meet more people, which, you know, with the pandemic, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do that, but at least, you know, the want is there.
Everybody knows everybody's
Yeah.
on the edge.
Well, you know, and you're visiting soon, I think. So
Very.
hopefully yeah, we'll get to scratch that itch of being around people. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and if anything in this conversation has pointed out that there's a lot of talent in this virtual room, you know, between like all of the musicians that we have here, magic shows and clowning and, you know, all of that stuff. We should have a UU talent night. Could be fun.
That might be fun.
That I could do. That
Yeah.
I could do.
Well, it seems like we're winding down a little bit. Does anybody have any other thoughts for the service? Oh, okay. Well, dearest Reverend, oh, Paul. Oh, you're muted right now, Paul.
I just wanted to make a comment about today's meeting. There's been kind of a positive, uplifting tone to today's talk. Bonnie, your sermon was excellent. I think everybody's kind of happy about the mask mandate. And everybody's kind of like got a positive, uplifting orientation today. Very, very nice discussion today. I just wanted to put my 2 cents worth in.
Yeah.
Great, Paul. Thanks. It has been really, I've been really enjoyed the conversation with everybody.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, I agree completely. It helps that it's beautiful out too, but you all do a great job of lifting me up. Bonnie, if it's not too much trouble, maybe you can send us off with a closing thought.
So, yeah, I guess I would say that as we go around that bend and emerge into this new experience in our lives, this new, every day is a new day with a blank palette. This collectively knowing that stepping outside our comfort zone is where the magic happens, and also, as JC said, going deeper into ourselves, that all the answers are within us. And as we venture out into this new world, we can set our intention to create that which we want to see: the peace, the companionship, the compassion, and not get distracted by the news.
Yes, indeed. Well, that will do it for today. Thank you all. For anybody watching this on YouTube, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it does help us out a lot. For our Reverends Bonnie and Andy Anderson, you have our gratitude. Thank you for a wonderful service and a wonderful discussion. And we will see everyone next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.